Hi, everybody. This is Stephen Abramowitz, author of Harmony's Bites, and I'm here with Kristine Jones, the author of Destiny's Awakening. Hello, Kristine.
Hi.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me on my second author-to-author interview.
I'm really excited.
Oh, good, good. Why don't we just get right into it? So, Destiny's Awakening took place hundreds of years ago. How much period research went into your preparation to get this book made?
I wouldn't say anything super formal just because I really love history. And so I've watched a lot of shows on like medieval periods and stuff. So I felt really comfortable with some of the setting information, like clothing choices to help me visualize everything. So I felt really comfortable with that time period. I would say the most research that I went into for it was behind some of the more like hostile environments so that I got
Yes.
some of that more accurate. So I did some tribal style research on,
Mm.
things like first nights of a wedding, for example.
Uh-huh.
Not,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to go into too deep, but there is like
Yes, I got
historic,
it.
yeah, there is historic basis for some of those scenes. So that isn't something, I mean, I did come up with the idea, but I was like, oh, hey, what if that's a real thing? And so I did do some tribal research on that.
Okay.
And some things like that are real. So it's,
Wow. So
yeah,
the Faustian stuff was really
yeah,
on the ball. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Um,
Which
okay.
I don't know if we should be happy about that.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know. How did you develop the concept of the mothers and their activation in Astor's sleep or subconscious? And what do you feel is the significance of calling them the mothers when they really didn't have, we don't know about their children?
So the way that I kind of envision the mothers is in the same vein as like Father Time or Mother Earth. And so the way that I kind of I even really love the story American Gods by Neil Gaiman a lot. I love the concept of a people may move and transplant somewhere else and they bring their ideologies and their thoughts and their gods with them. And so it was kind of in the back of my mind of what if a woman one day was trying to plant her crops and it hadn't rained in months? And so she sent a prayer into the universe and she was like, please bring me rain. And then what if that spoke Indra, who's our mother of water, into life? So it was kind of something along those lines. And so the mothers are caretakers to the people of Minari. And so I see them in that mother-esque role, very similar to like Mother Nature. Um, and the dream element of it came to me because I feel like we don't really know a lot about how dreams really happen within our subconscious, within our bodies, and what gains momentum in our dreams. And I think I truly believe in things like visitations from spirits and such like that in dreams to help us move past trauma or help us move past a grieving period, etc. So the concept of mothers coming through dreams is they're helping Aster move through the challenges in her life. They're helping her, even if sometimes they don't seem like they really are, they're helping her get to the next phase of what either they need her to do or what she needs to be doing.
Right.
Um, so I kind of see them in that caretaker role. They're influencing life in Minari and the greater world as the series moves forward. So that's kind of why I chose mothers for them and not just like goddesses or something I think a little bit more generic that we're really used to in fantasy stories.
Yeah. I'll say it really supports the agricultural, ideas of the time.
Yeah.
And I also want to make a comment on dreams because I dreamed the premise for Harmony's Bites, my novel. So,
So, and I did too. So
and I
the
remember I
concept
read
for
that as well. Go on.
yeah, the concept for Black Dahlia series came to me in a dream, and Destiny's Awakening, though it is the first novel in the series, it's technically the second one I wrote because the first story was the one that I dreamt, and in the process of developing that story, I had to work backward because I realized there's a bigger story before this. So that's
Okay.
how we got Aster, Violet, and Zinnia's story.
Okay. So it's kind of how like they numerated Star Wars after the fact. Like,
A little bit, yeah. I was like in the middle, maybe three-quarters of the way through the second book. The title of that one's Destiny's Divide, and
yeah.
I realized I could really do something with that little blip. It was maybe two sentences in the story, and I was like, wait a minute, that could actually be really fun to explore that. And so I
Yeah.
ended up doing that, and that's how we got the book.
Nice, nice. Okay. Let's see. The relationship between Aster and her two sisters is obviously a central theme in the book. While Zinnia is loyal, excitable, and supportive, Violet becomes a true foil for Aster, breaking away and joining the Faustians. So, my question is, how did you balance Aster's two wildly different sister relationships?
So I kind of saw them as motivators for her in different ways. Zinnia's obviously that ever optimistic. She's the daydreamer. She dreams of the happily ever after. She really believes in happily ever after. And I think that my favorite quote of hers in the entire series is have faith, we'll see each other again. And I
Yes.
think that that encapsulates Zinnia so perfectly. She's that person that's like, you have to have faith because it's all going to work out in the end. We may not know it now or what it looks like, what shape it's going to take. And I think that is an encompassing view for myself, even in the world. Like, I can't worry about 3 days from now because I don't know what it's going to be, but wherever we get, we're going to get there and we're going to be where we need to be. And we may not understand it, but we will eventually. And then Violet, I kind of see as that impulsive person that digs in her heels. And once she's decided this is what I'm going to do, this is it. And that's probably like our baser instinct, right? Like we want to be the best of ourselves, but we sometimes just give in to the worst of ourselves. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Violet's bad in any way, shape, or form, but I know even for myself, and I'm sure it's very true for many of the people listening, is that sometimes we're like, you know what, I'm going to do this just because you said I couldn't do it.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, and I see that being Violet, and I know that some of my readers have stated that, oh, I don't really understand why Violet made that choice, and I don't know that Violet even really understands why she made that choice.
Hmm.
If that makes sense, you know, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
she decided that she was going to do this thing, and she's not going to back down from that, whether or not the consequences are dire, and she doesn't really understand them. That's what she's going to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that that is, and it's so polar opposite from Aster. Both of her sisters really are, because
Yeah.
Aster's not like center of the road. I'm going to do what the mothers are telling me to do because I made a promise and I made a bargain and an agreement. And even if everything is falling apart around me, at least I know this one thing is constant and true. So I'm going to stick with the mothers. And so you have both of her sisters kind of being her alternate personalities in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to stay with the period drinkware, so I'll say it was a chalice half full, half empty
Yes.
situation.
Yes.
Okay. Um, and I want to talk to you about Astor's sort of dichotomy in a little while.
Yeah.
But first, I want to ask you about Lysander. So while Lysander was part of the mother's determination of Astor's destiny, you also make a point to specify that their love is real and true. I feel that Lysander completes Astor as a calm voice of reason for her. How do you see Lysander and his function in the narrative?
First of all, I think we all need a Lysander in our lives. He's just such a good human that I love him so much. I see him being that really idealistic version of a give and a take in a relationship, right? So he sees what Asher is doing is as honorable. He wants to help her. He's also intrigued by how the mother's decision for him, like deciding for him and choosing him, is going to play out for him. So as much as he's motivated by maybe he's attracted to Aster, he likes her, he's intrigued by her, he's just as much motivated in the beginning by what his role might be, but they really do truly end up balancing each other. And
Mhm.
Aster even describes it in the book where he likes to sit and think and contemplate his decisions and like
Mhm.
everything that could go wrong or right or whatever with that decision. Whereas Aster is that I want to talk about it person. We're going to get it. I'm going to just get it all out in the open and I want to make a decision. We're going to do the thing. And so Lysander truly is that balance to her to bring her back and say like, no, we really like, let's think about this. And like, is this going to be the best decision for us?
Yeah, he had some inconsistencies too, though.
He does. He does.
Where he was the one who was really pushing her to connect with Lily,
Yes.
Aster with Lily through the mothers. Um, but also when push came to shove, he didn't want her to go. So
It's a tough one because I think he identified what Violet did, her choice, as selfish. And he's like, she doesn't deserve your time, right? Like,
Mhm.
she did this thing, she hurt you, she hurt Xenia, she hurt your family. Let her go, right? Like, don't hold on to it. Let her go. Allow yourself to heal. And as much as it hurts and it sucks to say, like, for all intents and purposes, this person's gone, dead to you, you need to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck forever in the past. But
Yeah.
then the concept of Lily comes up. And I think that it's really important to keep in mind that the Lily connection happens right around the same time that Lysander becomes a father himself, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I think that that's really important because it plays a role in we're not doing this for the greater good of Faustia. We're doing this because that's our niece and she deserves better and she deserves to know she's important and she's not just a pawn in somebody else's game. So I think it's important. That's part of the whole concept, I don't know, behind Destiny's Awakening in general is
Hmm.
how life affects us,
Yeah.
right? So like Lysander becomes a dad and his entire world changes, which it does when we become parents. Our entire importance level and like scale changes in it overnight.
And Mira should know that she has a cousin that she'll meet in about what, 25, 30 years, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. In your mind, what was the true meaning of the temple? Was it a place for the mothers to reside, or more of a vehicle for Aster to deal with her lingering feelings about Violet and eventually, pass along her, power to the next generation?
I see it more probably the second. I do believe that the veil is thinnest at the temple,
Mhm.
and it's an idea that I'm having to kind of think through as well for second book. I can't go into it, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking through that for the second book. But the veil is thinner at the temple site, and so the mother's power, the mother's energy, their influence is most strong in that location, and so not only does Aster have a better connection to them in the temple,
Mhm.
but yes, it is a vehicle for her to really deal with everything. She's safest there because her
Yes.
power is most under her control when she's in the
Mhm.
temple. She's able to connect with Violet during her once a year visits that she's
Yeah.
allowed. She wants to do that. And then it becomes kind of this central focal point throughout the series of this is where people go if they need help
Yeah.
with things to do with the mothers. I think in Destiny's Awakening, for example, we find out that the power rolling out through Minari doesn't go 100% perfectly. And
Mhm.
so there's a need for a place of solace, a place of healing. And that's really what the temple is meant to represent.
Yeah, and Aster's missing quite a party for the summer solstice.
Yes. She does. I think that that's one of, I think it's funny that Mira's like, is this when you're going to tell me where you keep sneaking off to, because
Right.
when she's little, of course, as little kids, they don't really realize, where's mom going? But then you start to become older and she becomes a teenager and she probably spent these years watching her mom like sneak off into the night and all of a sudden it's like, where is mom going? But she's hidden behind this door that nobody else is allowed to go to. So I do think that it's an interesting dichotomy. It blends, I think, really well with Aster's frame of mind as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I totally get that. Let's see. Okay. Next page. I am fascinated by the unwinding ceremony, which connects women to the ancestral realm when they turn 21. How on earth did you come up with that? And what was it based on a cultural or religious event in your experience or your research?
So I'm really fascinated by rites of passage, becoming an adult. And I think you see that in every major culture, whether it's, the Mexican culture with the quinceañera or, even in a lot of Asian or African countries, you have these very distinctive rites of passage. And I love that concept. I think what I wanted to do with the unwinding was not have it exclusively be a rite of passage because you're 21 when you go through the unwinding. You
Right.
can't do it before that. And so it's not necessarily marking childhood to adulthood. It's marking we're going from one version of ourselves necessarily to a next version. We're ascending to the next version. And I love that idea of we're going to put you to sleep and you're going to go through this crazy mind altering experience where you come face to face with the deities that are of your world. And not only are they going to give you this extensive wealth of knowledge, which we come to find out is not necessarily complete.
Mhm.
We find
Yeah,
that out,
yeah.
which I think is a clue into how the mothers operate. But then you are also given your first power, which allows you to become more of yourself, your true self, and experience who you are through that. But then you're also named a partner during the unwinding.
Right.
And this partner is truly meant to help you figure out the rest of it, right? So they're your counterbalance. And if
Mhm.
you're really strong in a suit, they're probably not going to be as strong in that personality trait, and vice versa. But I've always really enjoyed the concept of rites of passage. And
Mhm.
so this is really that it's taking rite of passage, I think, to another level of not just we're marking adulthood and childhood as separate entities, but
Mhm.
really you're becoming a bigger, more full version of yourself.
Yeah, and for Zinnia, for example, I mean that was the coming out party for Tyrus too. So that their connection was sort of made
Yes.
official at that point. So that was great.
I loved that. I loved being able to give that to them because, we don't really get to see a lot of it through their eyes because we're in Aster's
Right.
POV, like truly in Aster's POV.
Yeah.
And we don't get to see a lot of it, but I know just because of how I wrote them that Tyrus was just yearning for Xenia the entire time.
Yeah. 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 It was we had little tidbits in the beginning, so
Mhm.
I could see that. Yeah, it's that was one of the reasons why I wrote Harmony's Bites with, different points of view that really, could get, all sorts of feelings and things to really
It is one of
be
those reasons why I
yeah,
would say this book
yeah,
isn't necessarily for everybody. And
yeah,
I absolutely am okay with that
yeah,
because being so truly, because it is written in the style of a memoir, we are locked in
yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
Aster's POV.
yeah.
And because if she can't see it, we don't see it. If she didn't experience it, we don't experience it. And that can be frustrating as a reader, and I can understand that. Which is also part of the reason I've thought about doing a novella. A lot of my readers have asked for a novella for
Oh,
a deeper dive into like Violet and some of the other characters. So
uh-huh.
that's something I'm definitely considering, and that would be written in more of like a multi POV style.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll look forward to that. Um, so in my opinion, the central conflict in Destiny's Awakening develops within Aster's mind. She struggles between keeping her family together and fulfilling her role as Consari. Is this what you intended to convey to the reader?
Yes. So the biggest premise, the biggest theme in the entire story is the decision, like choice and consequence, action, reaction, consequence, all of that. And so we see that most clearly through Aster's conflict in her mind, for sure. And so that is absolutely the intent. I wanted her to be conflicted with that. I made a promise to the mothers, but it might cost me my sisters or it might
Right,
cost me something more. And
right.
it's not necessarily that the mother's bargain is more important to Aster than her sisters because it's not, but she sees the end result or like what is waiting for us at the end of this journey. And to her, that is worth it. And everything that could come out of it is going to be worth it, worth whatever the cost is,
Mhm.
worth the struggle and the heartache for her.
Yeah,
But we definitely see that she doesn't take it easily, right? It's
yeah,
not something that she is even happy with at the end of the day.
right.
So yeah, it was tough to be so in her thought process with that sometimes, especially towards the end of the story when we start
Yes,
to see
yes.
fracturing happening.
Hmm.
Um, that one it definitely touched my mom heart. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, the splintering especially, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Speaking of the splintering is a seminal event in the story. How did you want to convey Astor's sense of loss while building hope through new generations?
Yeah, so the splintering is tough in a lot of ways because I couldn't have the story. I didn't manufacture this just to have conflict, but we couldn't have the story conflict only be Aster and her sisters. Like
Mhm.
when you have a sister that's in a completely different country that you really don't have communication with, and then another sister that's happily enjoying her life that doesn't really offer a lot of peaking in a
Yeah.
conflict scenario. And so I knew where I needed to be for book two. And I think that that's part of this is I knew where I needed to be for book two and where book two takes place. So I had to get the people where they needed to be geographically for book two. And so
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do that, I needed to get a group of people out of Minari and into point B. I can't go into where point B is.
Okay. 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 Enough
You
said.
get to point B.
Yeah.
And so part of that is how could we do that? And so then I saw in book two, I kind of had this pivotal moment between our FMC in book two and Talton's spirit in the future. And I was like, okay, so Talton is our, not necessarily bad guy, but Talton is our guy that's going to come in and have these crazy revolutionary ideas. And he'll
Yeah.
be one of the ones that we get into, like if I do the novella, we'll get his POV. So we get a lot more of his,
Okay.
like, how did we get radicalized? Because I know that that's a question that a lot of people have asked me is how did he get so far off when his
Yeah.
aunt is the Kansari and she's leading the country and she's the first one and everything. But Talton, in my mind, we see it even in today's day and age where it's
Yes.
so easy to have a concept be planted in your mind.
Hmm.
It becomes truth, and we become so committed to that truth that it doesn't matter what our loved ones are saying to us. It doesn't matter
Right.
what our friends may be saying to us. It doesn't even
Yes.
matter who your friends are or who your family is.
Yep.
His aunt is Kansari, and it makes no difference to him.
Yep.
He believes that the Minarian people were chosen by the mothers, and that is it. And because they
Mhm.
were chosen by the mothers, they should be in control and they should be in power and they should be converting
Hmm.
everybody around them. So he's like that radicalized, not necessarily violent radical because he doesn't go,
Right.
but he definitely wants to change people's perception and change people's minds
Yeah.
on the mothers and how the Minarian culture should be conducting themselves. And so I think that that's really Talton in a nutshell is
Yeah.
he becomes radicalized and because he's young, he's only 17, 18,
Right.
and this happens, he's not going to listen.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
of us out there that have kids around that age,
Yeah. He'll double down on
right.
his radical views. Yeah.
Yes. And so we had to have the splintering because I knew where we needed to be for book two.
Uh-huh.
Um, I needed Aster to really have to make what is a heartbreaking decision, because her choice and her not necessarily refusal, but she really tried to bargain with the mothers, and the mothers were like, no,
Yeah.
too
Right.
far. This is still too new. We can't risk it.
Yeah.
So we're going to hard line. And that
Yeah.
was the mother's place. And I think that that again kind of goes back to the caretaker, right? Is they
Right.
see all of this is still too fresh. We're only 2 decades into the Kansari age and everything. And so it's too vulnerable to attack in a sense. And so the mothers put their foot down and they said, no,
Yeah.
he has to go. And anybody that won't recant and like change their minds, they're going with him. And so that's and unfortunately, Aster has not just her nephew involved in that situation, but more of her family, and
Yeah.
that it was devastating to write those scenes. Were
Yeah.
This was devastating for me as they
Yeah.
are for the people reading them.
Yeah. I think Tyrus was the one who said, "This is not a holiday. This is, this is,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this
This
is,
isn't a joke, son.
yeah,
Like
right.
you're potentially ruining thousands of families, and this is and Astor even says there won't be one family in Minari that isn't touched by this. And
Right.
I think that that is what plays a really pivotal role when we go into book two, because in book two, a lot of the very early chapters are focused on how Minari becomes so insulated because they
Yeah.
almost react to this situation like a pendulum swing, right? Like
Uh-huh.
in the
Yeah.
very beginning, they knew maybe they needed to keep this secret because
Right.
it could make them vulnerable.
Hmm.
But now, after the splintering,
Yeah.
they've seen how like outside influence can really be damaging.
Yeah.
And so they've gone almost so far to the other way that now they're this insulated country and they don't interact with the outside and everything
Right.
is a secret. And the FNC in the second book will even say like the first lesson we're taught as children is how to keep a secret.
Yeah. Mm. And there's a big secret in Harmony's Bites. So I get that keeping a secret it can be painful, but sometimes necessary.
Yes.
Okay, so last question. Destiny's Awakening, and as you said, is a Black Dahlia story, and it's the first of a series, but it's really the second in your mind.
Yes.
So what lies ahead? Give us a little clue what lies ahead for the descendants of Aster and Lysander.
Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned, I'm considering a novella, very seriously considering a novella, and it would run not necessarily concurrent with Destiny's Awakening, but I would say it would kind of pick up post Violet making her decision to leave
Hmm.
and kind of follow her, and then also give more insight into Talton's decision, his radicalization in the
Hmm.
background that we don't
Good.
really have a lot of visibility to.
Yeah.
And that would probably come out after the second book, just because Destiny's Divide is drafted already. It's done. So I want to get that out. It'll buy me some time
Yeah,
to
sure.
write, you know. And so then Destiny's Divide doesn't happen immediately after Destiny's Awakening. It
Okay.
happens roughly 10 generations, so roughly 300 years
Yeah.
into the future.
Yeah, I
And
could tell.
and it does follow their descendants. It follows descendants from Violet's line, from Zenya's line, and Aster's line. And that trails through book two and then book three. And then by the time that we get into book three, all three lines are converging. And
Wow.
it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for it because especially for book two, because it's different. It's a dual POV, it's our FMC and then the MNC POVs.
Hmm.
And it is a collision between those two, and I'm really excited for it. I wrote it that in the beginning, we don't know who the MMC is.
Hmm.
And so I'll be very, very mum's the word on our
Okay.
MMC for that book. But
Okay.
it's exciting because I wanted it to be kind of like high stakes in the beginning. You can
Hmm.
tell from the chapter teasers, right? We have Lissa, who is our MMC in book FMC in book two,
Hmm.
and then him in book two, and him is either from the new country that we'll learn about or from Faustia, and we don't.
Okay.
But we do know from the chapter previews at the end of Destiny's Awakening that our MMC has a thought that magic is real
Hmm.
and he is obsessed with it. And
Okay.
so he is tracking down every bit of information that he possibly can
Hmm.
to find out is magic real. And then when he finds his proof, he enacts a plan to abduct our FMC and use her powers for his benefit. We
Wow.
don't know who he is, which makes it, I feel, a little bit more dangerous. You know, we don't
Yeah.
know what the risk associated with that is because he could either be from a country that you still don't want to be in,
Hmm.
but maybe a little less dangerous, or he could be from Faustia
Ooh.
and you don't
Ooh.
want that. So,
No. No. No.
and so like I think that it's going to be a little bit high stakes in the beginning, a little
Yeah.
bit serious,
Yeah.
and I hope that everybody enjoys that. And then it unfolds in a really fun way where our FMC has to really decide between heart, head, and all of those things, and like she has to come to terms with the fact that regardless of where she is, there are people that are connected to her
Yes.
in either of these places. And that means they're just as much her people
Hmm.
as they are people of this land. And if she
Yeah.
can help them, does she have an obligation to do so?
That says a lot about sort of society in America as a whole today. So,
Yeah.
so I can see that, and I love how you built this whole epic, universe, through thinking really through three books. So my last thing is, where can people pick up Destiny's Awakening and then the future Black Dahlia Destiny books?
Yeah, so right now it's available on Amazon through pre-order. It's available paperback and ebook. And then I also have ebook editions available on Google, Apple, iTunes, etc. Um, my link in bio and like my Instagram has all the various locations that you can get it. I've
Okay.
also done a alternative for Amazon because I know Amazon's not the favorite for a lot of people. So I
Right.
found there's a company called books.by.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, and they seem to be really great. I'm testing the waters with them, and
Okay.
it is very similar to Amazon, where a customer can go on and have their author can have their own kind of landing page on their platform. A customer can go either order the ebook or order the paperback. It's printed in the same way that Amazon does their printing, and then it's shipped directly. So that's one option or
Okay.
option. But then I also have a Shopify storefront where you can buy from me directly, which I would love if people did that first.
Okay.
Um, the reason being not just because it's from me directly, but you'll get goodies if you buy from me directly. So
Okay.
I will ship you a bookmark to go with the book and some stickers. It'll be signed, always
Ooh,
signed. And
awesome.
then there's additional things that I've designed, like merchandise related, so like bookmarks. There's drinkware that we've had up there, and there's different book bundles where you can buy a book and some goodies together or just things individually. So there's a lot more if you really want to get immersed in the world.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I'm jotting down mental notes for Harmony's Bites promotion down the road.
It's been a
Well,
lot
Chris,
of fun. It's taken up a lot of time, but it's been a lot of fun to put all of these things together to really give readers that enjoy the story an opportunity to kind of like build out their collection of things for
yeah,
them.
fantastic. Well, Christine, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank
And
you so much for putting this on. I really enjoyed it.
oh, good. I'm so glad. And go to Christine's Shopify. That's the best place to pre-order Destiny's Awakening. And
KristineWritesWorlds.com.
awesome. Okay, stop.